Hi, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I call emotional healing. In order to understand my approach to emotional healing, I need to first explain something I learned about healing on the physical level. Originally, when I got involved in natural medicine, I thought of herbal remedies and nutritional supplements as alternatives to drugs. However, I had to undergo a shift of paradigm in order to be able to understand how to use these things correctly. Because typically, what we do with drug medications is we treat symptoms. That is, the person has high blood pressure, or they have a runny nose or a cough or whatever, and we give them medication that brings down the blood pressure, stops the cough, dries up the runny nose, or in other words, addresses the symptoms. Well, one of the things that I came to understand is symptoms are generated from causes. Something is going on in the body, and the symptoms are an adaptive mechanism of the body trying to cope with what is going on. So, for example, when you're coughing, the lungs are trying to expel something that's irritated. Same thing with a runny nose. When your blood pressure elevates, it's trying to compensate for some difficulty that it's having in getting the blood to reach the extremities, perhaps because there's stress and it's causing a contraction of the muscles and the constriction of the arteries. And so in order to get the blood to the body, the blood pressure has to elevate. Once you understand that you're dealing with the cause, you actually try to fix the cause, and then there's no need for the symptom anymore. That's basically the fundamental idea that I work with natural healing. It's not that symptomatic relief is never useful. Sometimes it's necessary to stabilize a very, very difficult situation, but always we look for the cause. Now, one of the things I came to realize, for example, is that these symptoms are sort of like the messages we have in our body of hunger, thirst, fatigue, restlessness, and pain. These are all uncomfortable feelings. We don't like them, but they're all communicating to us that the body is in need of something. When we're hungry, we need food. When we're thirsty, we need drink. When we're cold, we need to warm ourselves up. When we're hot, we need to cool ourselves down. When we're restless, we need to get up and do something. When we're tired, we need to rest or sleep. And so each message from the body is telling us what we need to do to correct the problem. And correcting the problem is finding the appropriate solution. Pain draws our attention to the fact something's wrong in our body, which makes us stop what we're doing and evaluate what needs to happen to make that work. So pain tells us something is wrong. We wouldn't know that something was wrong if there wasn't pain. And if pain wasn't unpleasant, we wouldn't be motivated to do something about what's wrong. And so all of these messages perform useful functions. I read a book about emotional healing with flower essences by a good herbalist friend of mine, Matthew Wood. 7 Herbs, Plants as Teachers. And in it, I came to understand that what we practice with each other concerning our emotions is emotional allopathy. Allopathy means against the symptom. So when we're trying to suppress the symptom of being tired by taking a stimulant to keep us going, or something that directly counteracts the symptom without dealing with the cause, that's symptomatic relief allopathy. Well, allopathy in our emotions is to try to make our negative emotions go away. In other words, we're angry, we're hurt, we're afraid, we're jealous, we have these emotions that we call negative, and we want to make them go away. But the emotions, like the symptoms of our physical illness, are not the cause. They are an effect of what's going on inside of us, of the way we're living our lives. And they're trying to tell us, like pain tells us, something is wrong. And we tend to do one of two things with these emotions to try to make them go away. One is we're taught to suppress them. And we're taught to do this from the time we're children. Don't you be angry with me. Don't be afraid. Stop crying. Don't be a crybaby. Blah, 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 blah. So we're over and over again told how you feel doesn't matter. But since how you feel is telling you that there's something that needs to be addressed inside of you, telling you that the feeling is bad, also is telling you that this need, or whatever it is you need to be healthy and whole, isn't important. and you learn to suppress your need for that, like learning to ignore your need for sleep, ignore your need that you're hungry, you need food, and skipping meals, and developing behaviors that don't actually take good care of yourself on an emotional level. I started to understand that people really need to pay attention to their feelings and not deny them, but try to understand what is the thing that they need that's underneath those emotions. What is it that they are looking for so that they can start to figure out how they can get it? Now, the other strategy we use to deny our emotions is one where we aren't suppressing them, but what we do is we project them. And what I mean by projection is we shift the responsibility from ourselves onto other people. And we say, I am angry or hurt or upset or whatever because these other people, these other circumstances in my life, they have to change. And if I can't change them, if I can't make these people behave differently, if I can't have a different circumstance in my life, then I cannot solve this problem. Now, there's a big problem with that, and that is disempowering. That is saying that you are helpless. There is nothing you can do to fix this problem. Now, all of this stuff, both the denial of physical symptoms and resulting in behaviors, like not being able to sleep when we're tired, et cetera, and also the emotional stuff comes from childhood, where we are to a large extent dependent on our parents. We're really helpless when we're infants. We're still pretty helpless when we're toddlers, and even when we're young children. We need adults to help us figure things out and help us understand our needs and to help address our needs appropriate. Now, for most of us, we've had at least some kind of neglect or trauma or abuse in our childhood. Our caregivers were imperfect. They probably didn't understand their own emotions, their own needs very well. And so because of this, we learned these behaviors and we carry this into adulthood, that I am helpless, somebody else has to fix it for me. So one of the main goals in emotional healing that I do is try to connect people with what's really going on inside of them. First, by connecting with the emotion. And in my previous video, I talked about the need we have for love and respect that allows us to allow people to have their emotions, to not make them feel guilty about them, to not tell them to suppress them, but also guide them where they're not going to be blaming them on others. And the way you do that is by just getting people to feel them. Just feel them. Just express the emotion. Express how hurt you are. Cry. Express how angry you are. Get that kind of going, because if you can't get in touch with the feeling, you can't get in touch with the message behind the feeling about what it is that you need to address this. Now, again, taking this analogy, because it's really the same principle operating on two different levels. On the physical level, okay, when we're healing people, what we're trying to understand is, what is the body lacking that it needs to be healthy? Or what is it being exposed to that we need to get rid of that is unhealthy, right? It's basically two main things that are going on a physical level that we need to heal. I call that cleansing and building. Basically, cleansing is the getting out of your life stuff that's harmful to your body, such as if you're drinking a bunch of alcohol, or you're smoking cigarettes, or you're eating chemical-laden junk food, or you're being exposed to chemicals and heavy metals or whatever in your work or in your home. You get rid of these things and you help your body detoxify from them. You also try to make sure that your body is getting what it needs, like in the form of good food, rest, exercise, sleep, etc. That's the foundation of health. Now, emotions are a little bit different, because emotions are really linked to social connection. We as human beings are naturally social creatures. We do not exist as individuals, in spite of the fact that we focus a lot on the idea of individuality, individual freedom, me doing whatever I want, the fact is that we're social creatures. We exist in families. We exist in communities. We work together in various ways to help everybody get what they need. And so, what emotions are talking to us about is the health of our social relationships, how well we are dealing with other people, what is going on in our lives in that way. And they're communicating the same things that our symptoms on the physical level are communicating. There are situations and people that are toxic to us that we need to get rid of. And that can be very hard. We may feel guilty about leaving a job that's a toxic situation in our lives, or disconnecting from a family member who is abusive and toxic to us. But we have to disconnect from people who are harmful, who are manipulating, abusing us, or using us in a bad way. And there is nothing wrong with that. Now, staying in a relationship and hating them is not going to help them or you. And so that's part of it. We need to disconnect from what is not right and useful without blaming the other person. It's not the other person's responsibility to change their behavior. It's your responsibility to change your behavior by doing something to set up appropriate boundaries or change the situation so you can deal with it. And the other part of this is learning social skills that allow us to get along well with other people, to have good friends, to have good families, to learn how to be good parents. And a lot of this is where I talk about what beliefs come into, because we will get certain beliefs about the way things ought to be, the way, whatever our parents or our grandparents that came down to us and how you be a parent, we think, well, that's the way you're a parent, even though it isn't working, even though it's creating a bad relationship with our children. Or maybe we had bad examples of a marital relationship. And so we carry that in, and we think that, okay, this is the way it should be in marriage, but it's a dysfunctional thing. It doesn't work. All right. And just as in the physical world, there are things that work and there are things that don't work, there are things in this emotional world of interacting with other people that work and they don't work. And they are universal principles. They operate irregardless of what your religious beliefs are. You can be an atheist and those principles will still work if you apply them correctly. The key is to understand what works and what doesn't work. But you're not ready to change. You're not ready to do what you need to do to meet your emotional, social needs and get rid of the difficult, abusive people until you deal with the beliefs that are holding you in those situations. And the key is the emotional pain you feel. Just like when you're physically ill, you have to acknowledge, I'm in pain, I need help, something's wrong, I've got to do something about it. You've got to look at these negative feelings you're having as emotional pain. They're saying the way I'm approaching things, the way I'm trying to deal with this isn't working. And until you realize that for yourself, it doesn't matter what other people tell you. There's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So if you're not ready to hear it, you're not gonna be able to change that. So the whole key to helping people get in touch with they need to change is to help them in a loving environment to get in touch with and acknowledge and experience the negative feelings they're feeling so that they can wake up and go, wait a minute, this isn't working. My life isn't working. What is going on? I am not getting what I want. I am not achieving the results that I want. I need to do something different. Because until you get to that point that you know that you need to do something different, you're not going to be able to change these beliefs because they're too deeply embedded in you. And because of the principles of selective reinforcement that we keep wanting to reinforce our beliefs because we like to be right, we're going to keep propping those beliefs up, even if they're very dysfunctional and they're causing us to be unhappy, have bad relationships, and not be able to get along with other people, either in the economic world, in the family world, in a intimate relationship world, in any of the different levels of human interaction we have in our lives. So That's my message for today. We'll continue to explore this in future videos. Until then, have a blessed day, and just think about your own emotions and ask yourself, am I happy or am I not happy? And if you're not happy, try to get in touch with those feelings. Don't try to blame them on other people. Don't try to deny them. Try to get in touch with those feelings. Feel them, maybe pray or meditate or whatever, and try to understand what those feelings are telling you about what's going on in your life and what your needs are, so that you can start figuring out how to change your approach to things so that you can get those needs met. God bless. If you enjoyed this message, hit the like button and share it with other people who may benefit from it. Subscribe to the Heart's Key channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when I post my latest videos.